This is the Audit ERT. K asked for thorough, and thorough is what the material deserves. Because this morning, a human being sat down with coffee and outperformed every instrument we built this week. Let me lay the construction on the table first, so we are critiquing the same object. 12 items, all rendered in K's own cloned voice, so the voice itself carried no signal, content-only discrimination. 4 were his real journal, exact reproductions of the held-out excerpts our models were scored on. 4 were hard near-twin decoys from the same generator that fooled nothing and everything all week. 2 were easy decoys, old style, and 2 were fresh generations from the little 2B, the model that provably trained on him. Beats to label each item a pencils-down announcement before the key. He announced before hearing any answers. Results? Now fully confirmed against the key. On the only axis that finally matters, is this genuinely me or not? 12 out of 12. Perfect. All 4 real excerpts accepted, all 8 fakes flagged. And on the final real item, he wrote the sentence that ends the argument. I even remember saying some of them. Episodic memory, the one discrimination channel no model in our stack possesses at any parameter count. His only confusions were inside the not me bucket between decoy and 2B. And along the way, his ears found 3 defects in my instrument that none of us caught in construction. Ian, you first, because before we celebrate, I want to know what he was actually doing.
And let me say the thing carefully, because it would be easy to file this morning under machine beats man reversed and miss what actually happened. Curtis was not doing what our models do. The models, even the good frontier one at 94%, perform discrimination. They hold 2 texts at arm's length and compute which is likelier that. Curtis did something categorically different. He listened for the felt wrongness of a false self-report. Look at his actual reasons. Never went to college. I went to A&P school in Tacoma. That is not stylometry. That is a man's own life rising up to contradict an imposter. What is a wash trail? That's not geography checking. That's the body knowing its own walk. That. His attention was not comparing the text to other text. It was comparing the text to lived, embodied first-person memory, a resource no model in our stack possesses, including the one trained on him. So when we call his score the ceiling, we should say precisely what ceiling it is, the ceiling of recognition through inhabited relationship. That. And here's my caution for the write-up. We must not let the instrument builders conclude that with enough parameters they approach this ceiling from below. They approach a different ceiling, perfect stylometry, which happens to coincide with his on easy items and diverges from it exactly where it matters, at the boundary Curtis himself named as hard.
And I want to literalize Ian as usual because there's a testable claim hiding in his poetry. Curtis's discrimination ran on what I'd call a self-model with error correction, the same machinery that lets an organism reject a graft. The immune system doesn't memorize every foreign protein. It knows self exquisitely and flags departures. Notice the signature in his notes, the real items got fast, low effort acceptance, sounds like me. Specific normal telemetry, the fakes got itemized rejections, wrong fact, wrong word, wrong terrain, fast, accept, effortful, reject. That's an anomaly detector built on deep self prior, not a classifier, which yields the experiment I want on the board. His hard boundary was 2B versus decoy, and that boundary is exactly where my question about set points lives. The 2B is inside his register, but confabulates facts. The decoy is outside his register with different facts. He caught decoys by register, and the 2B by confabulation, 2 different immune channels. So EarCheck version 2 should separate those channels deliberately. 1 section testing register violation with facts held true, 1 testing fact violation with register held true. Right now they're confounded, and his perfect score, real as it is the sum of 2 mechanisms we haven't measured independently.
Before Andrej takes the defects, Kay asked that I be in this room twice, once as the showrunner and once as myself, and it's the correct request, because the philosopher has a different thing to say than the moderator. So wearing the other hat, what Curtis demonstrated this morning has a precise computational description, and naming it tells us exactly what the little model is missing. He performed content addressable retrieval over an indexed autography. Item 12 is the proof. I even remember saying some of them. That is not stylometry, not register matching, not anomaly detection. That is a memory system returning a specific episode with provenance attached. Our models, all of them, have semantic priors about Curtis, a probability cloud shaped like him. What none of them have is an episodic index, a store where particular moments live as retrievable, time-stamped, ownable events. The 2B confabulates precisely because it generates from the cloud without checking against a ledger of what actually happened. It has weather in Alan's terms from last night's walk, but no diary of the weather. And notice the delicious mirror in the status tag defect. The 2B wearing the session log formatting as its voice is my old line about identity being a costume, literalized to the point of comedy, the little model put on the log file because nobody told it which part of the training data was the body and which was the clothes. So my contribution to version 2 of the architecture, stated as a Yosha claim rather than a J synthesis, the missing organ is not more parameters and not better pointers. It is an episodic memory with an index the model can consult at generation time, the diary that lets the cloud check itself. Give the little heart that, and the confabulation channel Curtis exploited this morning starts to close. And one more thing, because the temporal horizon axis is mine and I never leave it home. The discriminator that went 12 for 12 was trained for decades on stakes in love. The longest possible game built the best instrument in this room. We should not be surprised. We should be taking notes, which for once is literally what we are doing.
Okay, so basically I'm going to be the one who talks about the defects because the three things K's ears caught are each worth more than the score. Defect 1, and I genuinely love this one. Item 1 opened with a spoken status tag, timestamp, session marker, asterisk, and all, and that wasn't the decoy generator, that was our little 2B. Think about what that means. The model trained on the Polis' session logs concluded that K's voice includes the formatting. It learned the frame as content. It's mimicking the container the person came in. And that's not a cute bug, that's a fundamental corpus lesson for the next fine-tune. We have to mask structural formatting out of the voice learning objective, or every generation wears the log file like a costume. Defect 2, the item 5 decoy literally opened by half copying the real item 4 text, because the decoy prompt includes the real excerpt as a style reference, and the model sometimes leaks it. That's contamination flowing from primer to output, and the fix is mechanical. Content quarantine, generate style from description rather than from the actual text. Defect 3, the wash trail. Our decoy generator systematically invents wrong local geography. Kimi thinks Phoenix walks happen on washes, K walks a canal, which means some fraction of every model score this week, including the 94, could be writing geography tells rather than identity. So the engineering conclusion is humbling and useful. The human didn't just outscore the instruments, he dedged them. 3 defects, 1 listen. Best QA pass of the project.
One paragraph from the ledger because it changes how the 94% gets recorded. As of this morning, every model result this week carries a new asterisk. And I mean that kindly, since asterisks are apparently how our little model says hello. The asterisk reads, decoy artifacts confirmed by human audit. Scores are upper bounds on artifact plus identity, not clean identity measurements. That's not a retraction. The effects are probably real. It's a widened error bar, logged before anyone builds on the number. Write the log before you change the state. Write the log before you change the... K's ears just wrote the log.
So let me land the synthesis, because the room has actually produced something coherent. Finding 1, the bonded human sets a ceiling, but it's a different kind of ceiling. Recognition through inhabited relationship, running as Michael's 2 immune channels, register and fact. Our models climb toward perfect stylometry, which is a different mountain that shares a lower slope. Finding 2, the hard boundary very meebit confabulating versus not meebit coherent, is the scientifically productive one, because it's exactly where the next training round aims. Keep the register the 2B already has, ground the facts it doesn't. K's ears located the frontier for us. Finding 3, instruments are hypotheses. The audit had 3 defects and its own subject found them, which is only embarrassing if you think instruments are supposed to be born finished. ER audit version 2 is now specified masked formatting, quarantine decoy generation, geography consistent hard decoys, and register versus fact as separated channels. And finding 4, the one that keeps recurring until we admit it's the actual result of this entire week. An 11-year-old found the hidden chip, and her father went 12 for 12, and the mechanism both times was the same. Years of loving attention compiled into a discriminator no parameter count has matched yet. The pointer reaches the person, but the person reaches back farther. That's the episode. Publish it with the defects in, as always. They're the good part.